Alrighty then. Wow. Fun times, kids. Fun times.
Okay, here we go. Drum roll, please. Who's coming in first? This is always like super fun. Super fun. And then a lot of times, I don't know, a lot of times a lot of people will type in, but even if they're first, it's like the internet scrambles them, so they don't always make it first, even if they're first. So it is like a drum roll. Oh, yep. Well, I see hearts, but that's good. Because we love you. Yeah, it might be a little bit early for some, but here we are. Hopefully, you guys will catch up, and it's pretty quiet. Pretty quiet. Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not, because sometimes it's quiet and then and
I
there's
see a second lake.
oh boy, here we go. Gotta be doing something. Yeah, I know it's a little bit early.
There, I see 11 concurrent. So
Oh, good. So
something
it's
is
building
trying
up.
to catch up here.
Something. So we see the viewers, but we don't see anybody in chat, you guys. Let's see. Let me try to go. Jenny Pace and Alicia. Good job. First place, second place. Yay. We're going to have to play some game where somebody gets something fun for first place. Patrol Nas. Hi, Magellan. 2714. I don't know. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
That's me. It's
Oh,
okay.
that was Mike. I gotta
Sorry.
turn mine down too. Sorry.
So our number one backup computer, it's like now the remote is not working on it. So funny. It's like a remote mouse. And they had me signed out of YouTube over there. Right when we're going to go on, they decided to sign me out. This is like what we go through all the time, guys. But it's okay, because, hey, it's the dawning of a new age, and it's exciting times. Will's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Michelle as well. Patrol Nos.
There she
There's
is.
our special K.
There's one of our special Ks. So I'm gonna talk about it a couple times when we have more people in the room. But our very own KK is in a bit of a struggle right now, and at the end, I want us to send her a lot of love and healing and protection. So she's really kind of in a pickle, but I'm pulling for her so that she gets through it. It's one of those really big bumps. And as you know, Mike went through a really big bump too, big bump. And I'm hearing from other people that they're having some really difficult challenges. So whether it be emotionally, maybe there's breakthroughs, or physically, maybe something is happening to them. It just feels like the energy going through is not conducive to like human health and happiness. There's our Mary D. Yeah, I don't know, you guys. It just seems like the energy is really strange. And if people are susceptible, it seems like they're kind of falling victim to that thing they're susceptible to. So we all need to kind of be strong for each other right now. Really important.
Yes, and Bobby, thank you. You didn't get a notification from Robbie. And Robbie has been so supportive.
Yes.
What a dynamo of support our own Robbie as you guys are such a blessing. We love you all. I think I said DJ's in the house, right? And Jeffrey Davis is here. Oh man, this is good. Brian Miller, also AKA Kurt Vonnegut, by the way. Sunshine's Rising, yes, and that sassy one, that CH Cody one, yeah.
It should say, I don't know why it says that. It should say Sassy Susie. That's really weird. I don't know why it says that. I'm a little bit bothered about that.
Yeah, there's strange changes away. There's so much going on right now. It's just wild. So let me give an update for everybody where we're at here. This was yesterday. Yesterday we did do this exclusive for Patreons and members. It was a message from the Galactic Family, Cosmic Winds. We are coming closer. Oh yeah, there's a lot coming closer. It's literally dimensional. And, you know, what we have now, it's just like a breath. It's just like a breath. There's an inhale and there's an exhale. And the cycles of the yugas are like that too. So learn more about that over here. And this, again, was put up on Patreon. You could join the Patreon family for as little as $1 a month. Again, it does support us as we don't like to count on YT or anything in the system. Unfortunately, you know, we're all still in the system to a degree, but I do think there's going to be clearer, more defined alternatives as time goes on. Now, yesterday I updated this. Now, you might have seen this. Members, there are members over on YouTube. So YouTube, you'll find Evolutionary and EEARTS. All the videos that go up for members will go up in both places. And then Hearts OMMM, I'm trying to think of something unique for that. But what we have over here right now, members only videos, which, you know, again, it seems like everybody is doing this. I think part of why everybody's doing this is because YouTube just hounds you until you do it. Yet at the same time, what's going on is kind of, again, a layering of how things are being done by the system. So we have these are members only videos, which are also on Patreon. So again, everything goes up on Patreon, and members can access these. I decided to not monetize them for members. So when you become a member, there's no commercials. Because, you know, the other thing that YouTube's been doing is they put 1 million commercials in things. They literally, I counted 38 commercials in one, 42 in another, before I took some out. But then when you take them out, they bump it totally out of the algorithm. So it's kind of like, well, what can we do? Well, create the memberships for those that are supporting us in that way. And this way I'll just not monetize the members only videos since we're getting some income from the memberships, which again is split with YouTube. So, you know, these are up on EEARTS as well as Evolutionary. Whether you decide to become a member in either spot, we'll have basically all the pertinent videos, member only videos going up on both spots, just to let you guys know. And then of course there's different loyalty badges, emojis, etc., which will show up when we do, you know, things like this live.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. So a lot of changes. We're getting ready. Gosh, Brian, that sounds horrible. Sending you love and blessings. That sounds pretty rough. A lot of times things like this change us. They change us in ways that I don't know. It's just really hard to explain when we go through certain traumas. Things come up and we're just different. And I know that's brought, with what happened to us, it brought Mike online and it's scary. It's not a thing that it's very scary, when you face something like that. And I think it's that almost that fear that pushes you through the veil, and you're just different. So, it doesn't happen to everyone. I think it's up to your, your primary belief system. But we were just doing mantras before we came on, and I was kind of checking in with people's star families, and they were telling me that there are situations where if it's in your contract that you are due to wake up, and if you're not waking up, they're allowed to come into your life and show themselves in ways that they normally would not. Now, what I see usually after somebody wakes up is their star family. They show themselves in a beautiful way, because they're allowing their family to take pictures of them, and I see that in the form of light ships. I've seen that a few times where, the family member, for whatever reason, they feel like they need to just take pictures in the sky. And sure enough, you look at those pictures and you start to see light ships. It's really fun and really interesting. And if somebody doesn't wake up after that, after the evidence, well, they'll do something else in their life to get them to wake up. And it is a contract, a soul contract between you and your star family. And it's just something I found very interesting and very curious, that they may do things to disrupt or do things to show themselves in ways that is just undeniable that it's time for you to come online, and it's time for you to step into your mission and do the things.
Do you remember that scene where Gandalf is fighting the Balrog? I don't know if you guys remember that scene. Let me see. In so many ways, I think they're telling us a lot here. And again, I think this is one of our very, very best analogy movie series. And if you guys don't know, they're doing a new series on HBO, I think, where it's going way back to the first battle against Sauron. And so much there, like when we look at the orcs, they're basically the ones living in the cities under our feet. That was a big revelation there. And what they're doing, this is Gandalf against the Balrog, in which, he stops and blocks the way. He's Gandalf the Grey at that point in time. And he stops the Balrog from following them, but the Balrog hits him with his whip lasso and pulls Gandalf down with him in this mighty battle. And then next time we see Gandalf, he's Gandalf the White. And I think we go through that in our own lives. And, this is something that's just coming to me now as we're going, that I want to share with you guys. And hopefully, again, we won't bog down here. So anybody that wants to join us over on YouTube as a member, very, very, very well invited. Again, it does have its perks as well, and it does support us through these trying times, and of course medical bills, which are part of the whole system and everything that's going on. But Gandalf goes through his own trial and tribulation, risks his own life for his loved ones and friends, and he becomes leveled up. So I do feel that there's a leveling up after having gone through this emergency surgery. And, what did I notice on the other side besides soreness and stuff? Oh my gosh, just the visions coming through. Everything is just much sharper. There's a clarity. I also feel much lighter, way lighter. It's like I shed so much karma or something. Well, I am physically lighter. I lost 25 pounds in a week, guys. 25 pounds in a week's time, pretty much. So yeah, I am physically lighter too.
Yeah, very, very light, but the visions were just coming through, and they still are with him. And it's almost like, a fire hose gets turned on, and that information has always been there, but it gets turned on and just, it almost doesn't stop. I remember when I came online and my mission was to step into channeling. Oh my gosh, I channeled so much. It's like that fire hose let loose, and the information just poured until it got caught up. And then I had to pull back because I physically, it's not good for you. There was things going on in my life, but the channeling, it brings you up in vibration. That means the things that are not that high in 3D have to go down. So I was feeling I was in a lot of pain, yet my mission was still to channel. So it's like I had to kind of regulate it. But Mike is going through that now, where a lot of visions, these things are always there. They're just now coming through. They're just now allowed to come through for reasons, because it is part of who he is. We are shamans. We kind of bridge the gap between the 3D and the other realms. And you don't want to leave anyone out. I know it's good to channel the higher frequency, the higher beings, but sometimes our loved ones, when they want to be with us, they might not be way up in 5 and 60. They might want to be closer to you. So having that ability to channel closer to 3D is important as well. And that takes time to decipher, what kind of being are you channeling and what kind of energy do they have. It does take time and work and effort to pick these things apart and understand it. And I gotta say, an enormous amount of healing. Healing is so very important when you're doing this work and bridging the gap and taking yourself across the bridge to get information for other people. So it is a very interesting lifestyle. And I noticed what's going on with other people too. Like, things are getting cracked open in people's lives where they're having epiphanies and they're having new understandings. And I'm going through the same thing, just in a little bit of a different way. Having this energy is flowing through me, and I'm having more of an acceptance about who I am and what I'm supposed to do. I think my challenge is really keeping myself grounded in the 3D, because my brain keeps wanting to go to the other realms and get information. That's just simply, it's in the bloodline. It's through, my father's side. My father had this in his blood, and he was very careful to kind of tell me without telling me, because I think he knew that this world isn't very accepting of that. And if they do accept that, there's danger in it, because it can scare people. And I never want to scare people. I'm just getting information. If it's going to help someone, I get the information and then I state the information. And I think a lot of times it's really a blessing for people.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been quite a journey here. So this one hit me right away, and numerous of our peeps were sending us links on this. Another fireball shooting across the sky, southeastern U.S. today. American Meteor Society described the fireball as a bolide, which are rare, exceptionally bright meteors that can produce a sonic boom. So when you see something like this rolling through the sky in midday, know exactly where this is. I've done this highway a lot. Wow. Holy cow. I can only imagine. Think how spectacular it would have been at night. This is unusual. There's a lot more to this that's very, very unusual, as this was seen all over North Carolina, Virginia, also down into Georgia and Tennessee. A lot of people saw this. Here you have people saying, and meteorologists too, this is really rare, and especially in daytime, that bright. I'm curious if this was not some sort of piece of space debris, a rocket body maybe a degrading satellite, other space junk. It's rare to see something like this in the middle of the sky. But these things have been seen all throughout the ages. This is the thing. When you go back again, look through medieval paintings, when we look to cave art, you're going to see things like this all the time. So you can't blame it on Elon and SpaceX. Not for those ages.
No, and this is a very interesting energy. There feels to be blocks around it. Now, the energy that I keep picking up is a very forceful energy, and I feel some sort of a centering energy, like there's some being involved. I can't say that there's a being inside of this thing, but there's definitely a live being involved, and surrounding that feels like a forceful type of energy. So I think this is something that, something feels like it got blown up, and it feels very, very deliberate. It feels warlike, but still spectacular. I was looking at that, and one of the things that happened with me on my awakening journey is I was driving out in the middle.
What a week, everybody. Just
Uh-oh, sorry guys, hold on just a second. Okay, so I was driving in the middle of the desert, and this very large teardrop energy just dropped straight down from the sky. And it was probably 100 feet in front of me. I was driving my car, and I'm alone in the middle of the desert, and this huge teardrop thing just dropped straight down. And the very second it hit the ground, it just poof, it was gone. And I stopped my car and I got out and I looked, and I mean, that was something absolutely incredible. So when I saw this teardrop thing, I thought of that. It's not going straight down completely, but it does kind of have that shape of the teardrop. Mind you, mine didn't have the smoky trail, but it was a giant teardrop. There was a being inside of there. It was one of my angels, a very large angel, coming to say, hey, I'm here and it's time for you to go on your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Too many things have been classified as gods. Too many things have been classified as angels, and too many things have been classified as demons. It ends up blurring a line between them all. And in reality, so much of what we see is never exactly what they say it is. Occasionally they hit it, and they're not really hiding anything. But again, when you see this and you see how big it was big. This is substantial. Now, like I was saying, when you start looking throughout history, especially, Cindy and I have been in all over New Mexico and Arizona, Nevada, those 3 states. I intend, once we're healed and everything's good, to explore the rest of the states I haven't hit yet, because I've hit about 39 out of 50 states. Not necessarily, I don't know if we'll ever make it to Hawaii, beautiful state. But I do intend for us to hit the others. Now, we've seen up close and personal a lot of these type of depictions and, petroglyphs, as well as we've seen those right down the street from us were those cliff dwellings, were a bunch of cliff dwellings that we had to look at ourselves and say, how would we get up there? You'd have to have some sort of ladder that you put to get up there. What were they afraid of? Because they were clearly afraid of something. Was it rising water? Was it predators? Was it nasty negative ETs? What do you make of this? I mean, to me, this is a very clear representation of something that looks in the family of Greys.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it's in the family of Greys, and there's some more in here which are really strange because they're elongated, but these are beings who are trying to write down what they see. They're tribes trying to communicate the other beings that they're seeing, and as you can see, these are very large entities. So at one time and point, we had these beings on this planet, and they too have tribes of their own. So they come down in certain tribes and certain classifications, coming down in a golden age to guide humanity, to teach humanity, to bring understanding to the world that they live in a more positive way. And when I look at things now, everything is so chaotic and there can be so much negativity in this world. It's no way to live, and it's not good for our growth and understanding. We should be in a place of creation. At the same time, you still need the light and the dark to move us forward. I feel like the controllers have kind of harnessed the dark, and it really gives them an advantage, and that doesn't feel very fair. And then you have this guy, the insectoids, really, really, really strong. Mike has we call him the surgeon. He has an insectoid that's actually been able to go in and make minor changes inside of his body. And he's pretty amazing, and he doesn't frighten me. He's not scary. He's very scientific. He has a dry sense of humor, but a sense of humor nonetheless. And he does come around from time to time. And our guides are also always changing. We probably will never have the same guides throughout your lifetime because we grow and we change, and our frequency changes, our beliefs change. And with that comes another set of guides. Now, I don't think we posted it, but yesterday I saw this other level above our heads, about 3 feet above your head, exists your spirit team, your guidance team, and they are up there. But it is up to you to call them and call them down, or it's up to you to go up to reach them. But they are definitely there, and everyone has several. We're born with one primary angelic guide, and then the others come in as needed, as your life changes, as situations change. It might be an aunt or a grandmother, somebody who's been through something similar in this life. But the DNA, the ancestral DNA, see, you're repeating a lot of the things that your ancestors did, and there's trauma. A lot of times that's trauma, and we're repeating the trauma. So what the ancestors do is they come in and they try to help guide you through that trauma and help you correct it, because they have already done it. They've already lived it. So they have some foresight. So if you're going through something traumatic in your life, or very, very confusing, it depends on what it is, but you want to probably call on your ancestors and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you have them, again, trying to use any sort of science to say this is just, depictions of plasma explosions and things like this. No, these are beings, and the ones that wouldn't want you to know these are beings are beings that have been controlling humanity for thousands of years. So they always create other alternatives for those that are awakening, but aren't fully awake. They're still controllable, to keep you from realizing the manipulation that has gone on the planet Earth for thousands of years, all the way back to the Younger Dryas. And literally, it could be also that these manipulations go back through different cycles. So we've been looking primarily at our cycle of the last 4 yugas. And when we look at it, mostly looking at it from the period of the descending yugas in this most recent one to where we are now, which is right now standing on the cusp of the ascending cycle. We're literally on the ascending cycle right now. But really, all the memories that we have, for the most part, all the depictions that we see here, these are mostly going to be from the descending cycle of the yugas. And again, I go back to the Younger Dryas period, and that event, that extinction level event, which again cut the population on the planet down drastically. So this is what they want to hide, is the fact that the Earth was taken over. It was taken over it through both overt and then covert means. And the covert started back in other yugas. It started, back in perhaps even the silver, going into the bronze, as they were slowly starting to be able to infiltrate people through manipulation of those that were not holding their frequency too high. And then to total control when we were in the Kali Yuga. That was complete control. That's when they wiped out all of the old belief systems as much as they could, and created the new control-based belief systems, which basically say you're nothing but a slave. That's it. No, we were free beings. And yes, there are many other beings that have been there with us. One of the things that the guides do say is you have to be very careful to not let anybody pull your frequency down. Don't let anybody pull your frequency down. And if you have to separate yourself from them, then that's what you have to do. Your frequency is the most important thing to maintain during these times.
It can be a fine line, because you don't want to just lop yourself off of people because somebody might be having a difficult time. You want to see if there's something in that for you, if there's a lesson for you in that. But if it's something that's chronic and it just is not stopping, and it's gone on and it's not productive, then yeah, you'd probably want to consider doing something different, because people should either be adding wisdom, understanding, positive guidance. They should be adding happiness to your life. And if they're always pulling from your happiness bank account, then yeah, you might have to set some boundaries. Now, looking at this picture on the screen where this guy is holding a snake, the first thing that jumped into my head is this is something to do with the story of Moses. And if you remember the story of Moses, he's turning the staff into a snake. And this is also a technology. So the guides were telling me this is very similar to like the AI, the graphene that changes form. So these beings came down here with this type of technology, and they oohed and they awed the masses, and they did things that were just incredible and very noteworthy, and you can see it in our stories. So you wonder, where do some of the Bible stories come from? Well, you're looking at them carved in stone. Isn't that absolutely incredible? And then you look at these guys with the really long bodies. These are shapeshifters. They are definitely changing form, from going from the earth to the sky and from the sky to the earth. Their bodies change form, they lengthen, they change. They're not a full 3D type of a force, but they're still a force that can be seen. Very, very interesting. And you look at this one in the middle with that spiral energy. Look at that chakra. That's like an earth chakra. And you see how they're kind of holding hands, and they're each holding part of that chakra. And this is to allow for these energies to come through this chakra. So you could call it a portal. They create a portal and all the other energies come through. If you go and you look down with these guys with the funny looking hair, that's not hair, that is energy. So for those who had to do the carvings on the wall, they did a magnificent job in explaining what they were seeing. Now I'm picking up here with these darker ones, shadow beings, not something that feels very good. So as you can see, there was so many different kinds of beings and entities coming down to earth, some helping humankind, some taking advantage, but they were allowed to show themselves during this time. Whereas right now we've had this treaty, and this treaty allowed us so many years of peace for us to simply grow and expand on our own without interruption.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we are now in the period where the treaties have expired. As to our knowledge, no new treaties have been put into effect. So it's almost like anything can happen, guys, at this point in time. Again, what we do is we feel into things, and we can also directly communicate to the guides and share what literally the guides are saying these are. And again, that's a direct connect to the Galactic Federation. So when you look at that, and you remember that whole thing about the dueling serpents, dueling staffs between Aaron and Moses, with the other entities that were there of religious importance. And you look at this sorcery that's ongoing. Yeah, again, this is basically warfare that was still happening thousands of years ago for control of the planet. And again, they couch it all, they kind of hide it all in the religious connotations that they put out, but make no bones about it, this is real and tangible. This is part of Kahaz is in the house, and Ascended Master of One in the house as well. These things can be very triggering to people, absolutely. Then we have the Buga sphere. Oh, this is interesting in and of itself. My gosh, that really does look like a computer chip. It looks like an advertisement for NVIDIA or something, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Pretty wild. Now you have people like Stephen Greer coming out and saying this is ET in origin. I asked Cindy to feel into it and see what she feels about this. There's Stephen Greer's bombshell. It's likely extraterrestrial. He's pushing for carbon dating, isotope analysis. Plans include testing for unknown elements not on the periodic table. He says it shows seamless transdimensional manufacturing. This tech could end poverty, war, and pollution. That's why it's hidden. Yeah, absolutely. Again, the control system has put into effect everything that we know. Our way at looking at energy and resources, our concepts of, what space is and everything. This is all coming from the conquerors. And so, what is this? This strange metallic sphere discovered in Buga, Colombia, on March of this year, has triggered viral speculation about UFOs and ancient tech. In early March, a shiny metal object was seen flying over Buga, Colombia. Days later, locals found it grounded nearby. Scientists began examining it soon after, but internet, especially TikTok, had already latched onto it. Tons of videos flooded. And what's interesting, though, is they found that the most direct representation of what the scientists were talking about was literally coming from the Daily Mail. It was actually given pretty much a word for word, and the Daily Mail is thought to be like a trash paper, but they did probably the best job covering this. So what you see is a technology that's amazing. It has no joints. It seems to be made of multiple materials. It's just fascinating. And I asked Cindy to feel into it and just share whatever she could.
There's, when I look into the different ETs that were here, there are some that really didn't want to make themselves unknown. There were some that brought things in and left them for humans to find, to make it undeniable that there was someone else here, somebody else here. One of the alien beings, or I guess I could call them a tribe, that want humans to know that they're here. They want to say it without saying it, is blue avians. Blue avians really are rooting for us in a way that is helping us, but at the same time could really get them kind of karmically in trouble if they just flat out show themselves. But this is really interesting, and it does feel like, I don't know if you guys have seen those just perfectly round spheres just going through the air. This is a pretty amazing technology, and I believe that this was one of those things that was found deliberately for us to see. So these beings want us, they want to tell us we're here without, them getting in trouble for telling us that they are here. We're going through that, and I gotta just love Karma Doc. She says, Mike, you're clicking so much faster without that heavy appendix weighing you down. Oh my gosh. Yes, thank goodness. And we're just really grateful to have Mike with us, because I tell you what, we'll do a whole video on it, but it was quite a scare. It was some things that were very unnatural that happened, and they shouldn't have happened, but they did, and we're just keeping the silver lining going. So we're just going to focus on that. But yeah, thanks to everyone who's been so supportive, you guys. It's really going to help. Just on a side note, the no insurance, no insurance. So we're looking at that. So everyone who has been helping in that way, we really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. But back to this sphere, so very interesting and different layers of energy. And I think it's something deliberate that they left, a little shiny gem for humans to ooh and ah over and wonder about our universe. So I guess that's where some of these other alien entities want us to be. They want us to be in a state of wonder.
Oh, yeah. And this is part of like what I was saying. We're in the bronze ascending age. I don't think there could be any more exciting time to be. Because it's like an age of discovery and potential and possibilities.
It is. And, when you're in that state of wonder and curiosity, you're really able to bring about manifestation if you stay in a state of wonder and just ask yourself, wonder about things. Don't tell yourself things. Don't lock yourself into a belief system. Just get curious about them. That brings about expansion. Now we're looking at these other balls here, and my father was in mining, and there was a lot of these balls would break down rocks, break down the rocks to get whatever metal out of them that there was in. I just don't, these could be that, but I don't understand, like, why would they take the time to put the lines, around each sphere? That just seems like, if they were used for mining, then why would they bother doing that with each one? But what do I know? These technologies are so extremely sophisticated. Maybe those lines do have a purpose. Maybe they're to make this stone a certain weight, and maybe the weight is really critical to breaking other stones down. I just don't know, but I do think it's fascinating, and I love all of the little clues that they have given us. Like these stones over here on the bottom left, they're more what I would expect to see in a mining operation where they're breaking down other rocks. But these here with the lines around them, yeah, that has me wondering, like, who's, did they have a conveyor belt where the people sitting there kind of drawing these little lines perfectly around in these perfect circles? I don't know, but these are the discoveries that really put me in a state of awe and a state of wonder. I like them. So when I see them and I come across them, it's fun, fun things go through my head. And then if I want to, I sit down and I'll channel it. It's all up to what I want to do. But most of the time, I just like to have myself in a state of neutral wonder. When you're channeling, as soon as you ask the question, that's when you start receiving the answers. So it's very deliberate the way I do channeling, and the way I stay in kind of like this neutral state.
Yeah, absolutely. So, these things, again, they say these are billions of years old. If so, then they're coming from Tiamat. They're literally coming from the planet that Earth comes from. As Earth was, reconstructed from the remnants, the biggest remnants of Tiamat. So when you see, again, anomalous things, like when you see Roger at Mud Fossil pointing out a mountain that's a giant, that's Tiamat, because Tiamat was many times larger than this current Earth. And yet this current Earth is many times larger than what we're told. So you can imagine how big, how abundant, how full of life it was.
Right. There's a lot of things going on. So much. And the different tribes is what's fascinating. When I look back at Atlantis, there were so many different kinds of beings here, and they all got along. It was harmonious. And I think, our star brothers and sisters are waiting for us to find a state of harmony with ourselves so that they can start coming in. Because if we have trouble accepting ourselves, what's going to happen to us if another alien entity steps in? Humans just are not going to be able to handle it. So we are in a place where we are growing, we're expanding, we're becoming more accepting of one another. We're sending out those positive vibes and getting curious about our friends and coworkers and family, instead of being so rigid about certain beliefs. I think we're becoming softer and more understanding and accepting of what holds another person up, and all of these different belief systems stem from somewhere. And, looking at these stones here, well, that is one possible belief system stemmed from these beings that made these stones. I think if you're somebody that's into mining, you might really be able to connect to this if you're someone that's into mining. And you can see that in certain placements in a chart where somebody might really want to be digging deep into the ground, or digging for oil or digging for anything hidden. So there are certain things, and when people see that and they realize it, they're like, oh wow, yeah, I really do, I kind of like this mining, but it might be mining for information too. It's just like digging for the truth.
Yes, absolutely. So the first ones we were looking at, the Klerksdorf ones, this is South Africa. And of course, I find it fascinating because I didn't say anything to Cindy about these, and immediately she gets into the mining. Of course, South Africa, it's got gold mines there that go back 200,000 years or more. So it does kind of verify a lot of those Sumerian stories to a degree. These are the spheres of Moqui, and Moqui, these are about Utah, up in Utah. They date back about 2 million years. 2 million years. Legend has it deceased ancestors of the Hopi used the spheres as marbles to play games and leave messages for their living relatives. The Moqui spheres have an outer shell of iron oxide and interior of sand. So, this is fascinating too. We can communicate with the dead. We really can. And the fact is that the densities now are coming closer. We have the ghost of an ET girl that comes by and will play with our statues. And we have numerous places where we have statues gathered in different places. And she'll come and totally rearrange them and in different groupings. She's basically fourth density. And we've talked about her before. We call her Dolly just because she calls them dollies. But she'll come and rearrange in ways that she thinks make sense to her to that period in time, whatever it is. And she's been around us for several years, but we have other ones that, come and go too, that have been with us for years. It's nothing to fear. It really isn't. They want you. The control system wants you thinking anything that you can encounter is demonic. But the reality is the control system's demonic. So, you can encounter demonic things, but you can also encounter a lot of just neutral and also very, very benevolent beings. And so, this is something that may have been done a lot more frequently, certainly in a Bronze Age, knowingly corresponding and playing games with beings on the astral.
Mm-hmm. A lot going on, a lot more than what we are taught in school. And I think what school does is it just really, really limits us. And Karma Doc was saying that we should do an 8-hour appendix drive and just show people what we do from beginning to end of the day. And maybe we will do that. I think it's a brilliant idea. She says, inquiring minds want to know. And we want to share our experiences too. We want to share, how do we get the information that we get? How do we open up our channels and our vessels to receive the information that we give you guys? And it's an effort. We work on it every day. We work on from the time we get up to the time we go to bed. We don't do everything perfect because we're human, but we do things to the best of our ability. We love other people to the best of our ability. We share with other people to the best of our ability. And I got to tell you, when I met Mike, he kind of taught me how to live in an organized way. It was really amazing. It's like, how do you live in this crazy world? Like, how do you set some sort of a daily ritual and a daily thing? So, we've lost that. But if we look back to our star family, they can send us in the right direction so that we can find it again. Now, if you haven't seen this video, this is really amazing. I know it looks like it's a little cartoonish, or it looks like it might be altered, but no, I'm picking up that this is real. As crazy as it looks, these are real beings, and somebody got some really good footage and they were able to break it down. So this is a real thing, these beings coming down and watching and observing. And it's like, what do they want? What do they want? Unfortunately, you guys, a lot of them want your energy. They want your energy. Your human energy is just a plethora of source for them. They use this energy for their own means. So we want to be careful to not make ourselves a source for them. You want to definitely be in control of your emotions, because if you don't control your emotions, guess what? They control you, and that's one of the things that we try to help people do, is like get a hold of themselves when things are going crazy and get themselves grounded and help themselves out. One thing you don't want to give these entities is that scary vibe. Ooh, I'm scared, because that's their favorite. That's their strongest energy. They like to feed off of the loosh. So when you encounter things like this, it's best to put yourself in a state of neutrality. Very, very important to stay in a state of neutrality. You don't want to be giving off your excess light to other beings, because guess what? They'll take it if you give it. So we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really an interesting one. And, again, there's all sorts of quote unquote gray type of aliens. This is the realization. So you have so many different types. I mean, the categories, and if you were to put them in categories and classifications, it could be mind-blowing just to document the ones that we know of. It's just wild. Here you have a Tic Tac UAP, flies through the screen, turns in front of an orb. Wow, that almost looked like that was going to be a collision, didn't it? It's kind of crazy. Note for night cruise. Hey, what are you doing? You almost cut me off. That's pretty wild. Yet, it's so busy out there, man. When we were out in the desert in Death Valley, I would say 5 out of 7 nights, 5 out of 7, we would see amazing shows. Amazing. Look at this thing just go whizzing by. There's all different levels of technology out there. There's all sorts of beings out there. Most of them, I would say, are more indifferent or curious about humans. Indifferent to curious, but most of them are not going to terrorize you. Yeah, no, the ones that came and took over this world, they truly are the demons, so, and ultimately we are starseeds, we are all placed here, or we came here from other places. The old world tech you see here, you could if you look at it from that way, there's a lot of alien tech around us, even things that we take for granted.
There is, and using this world and the etheric realm that we're in to create patterns. Everything is patterns. It's so exciting. It's so fun. And when we look at some of this artwork, we might see like little drawings on it, and we think, oh, that's just a pretty drawing. But no, those artworks and those patterns can change the ether all around you and can set you up to a higher vibration. So everything that was created, everything that was made for use had more of a purpose than just that. And I look at how things are done today, and it just seems like things are just made to throw away now. They're not made with purpose. They're not made with love. They're not made with longevity and intention in mind. And that's how it was back in the silver and golden age. Everything was intention. Everything was love. Everything had a purpose. It was amazing, and we've kind of fallen away from that. But, we don't have to. We can still put ourselves in a state of intention. We can put ourselves in a state of love. We can pattern ourselves and create the world that we want to create, because we are powerful creators.
We are, and we've been under the control of the dark energies. The dark energy matrix was controlled to enslave minds primarily, and enslave beings, thereafter, because of that limiting belief system. The belief system that you're born into, like original sin, that there's something wrong with you in the first place. These are all in our modern vocabulary. It's narcissistic abuse that's ongoing. They're the gods. They're the lofty ones. No, they're the demons. They are the demons. And yes, there are angels. And for me, a definition of an angel is a high-frequency being that is not necessarily embodied in the physical, but is in support of those that are embodied in the physical. And they abound.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. They definitely abound. We are in a very incredible world with incredible things that it has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, you're going to see freaky things. It's only going to get freakier from here out. It's going to get crazier, wilder. Prepare and be expecting the very unexpected. At some point in time, I am sure we'll all be seeing different ETs. We do now without even realizing. That's part of the big reveal. So again, what can you do? What can you possibly do to help spread the ascension wave? That's simply to cultivate the compassion. And when we see somebody that looks a little slightly different from us, don't have an innate sense of fear, because you're going to see a lot of really wild beings out there as the time goes on. And most of them are just simply eager to get to know you, say hi, become friends, and share. This is really what the majority of the ETs and the interdimensional beings out there are like. We've just basically known some of the most abusive ones that have controlled this dark matrix within the natural matrix. So, again, I do not believe the natural matrix is evil. I do not believe the natural matrix is a trap in any way, shape, or form. I think that's just a dark matrix which is now currently being exposed, which has existed alongside and within the natural matrix. But its time is pretty much up, so you're just going to see a deterioration of the power of the dark forces. Even though it might appear that they're pushing forward, they're actually they're losing the battle, and the ground around them is crumbling.
It is, and while their ground is crumbling, we need to solidify our ground. And when it comes to making friends and working with your friends, just realize that we all have problems, we all have character defects, we all have issues. And if something's going on with your friend, try to figure out how to help them. They are your friend after all. And realize that maybe they're acting out of some kind of a trauma or some type of thing that you don't fully understand. So I think that would solidify the ground we have, and bringing compassion to the forefront, and understanding and love and all the things that is going to help us grow. I just want to ask a quick reminder of people to send out their prayers to KK and anybody else who might be having a difficult time right now. She's really having a super hard time.
Yeah, and I want to, before we go, just send out the little prayer that I like to share with you guys. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That translates to, in Sanskrit, may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may all my words, acts, and deeds contribute to that freedom. So you cannot can you think of a better blessing than that? All beings should be free. We have been kept in the dark on purpose. And now we're waking up and realizing that when they've told us something was light, it was actually dark, and dark, it was light. So it's a big awakening, and it's a lot to take in. But again, if you're acting from a point of compassion, that will bring about peace. So Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti is peace. We say it 3 times to send it into manifestation.
Indeed. Thanks for showing up, you guys. Thanks for all of your support. Thumbs up. Everything else, we appreciate it. And I don't know if we're going to go back to Monday through Friday again, or do you know yet?
We'll try it too.
Okay, we'll try. Maybe, I don't know if we're taking this weekend off too, but we'll see. But we appreciate it. Hope to see you again soon.
And there's going to be a lot more instructional videos, because, our priorities now are in some ways shifting to, while we still are trying to wake up new people, and we ask that you guys like, share, and subscribe, of course, and keep doing what you're doing to awaken others. I feel like it's time now for us to take those that have been with us in our core and bring them more knowledge, more tools perhaps they could utilize, and new ways of looking at things. So we are going to be centered a little bit more on the teaching side of things and the sharing, and going deeper, much, much deeper into a lot of these subjects, instead of just lightly touching on things. A lot more deep dives.
Source bless and namaste.
Much love. Source bless and namaste.